The Victorian Labor MP has criticised Premier Daniel Andrews for not visiting the western suburbs enough during a party meeting where federal election results were discussed. Julia Bradley is live in Melbourne. Julia, interesting to note on the federal election, even though it was an overall good result for Labor, some concerns about swings against Labor, in particular in normally friendly booths.
And one of these MPs who represents one of these electorates in the western suburbs of Melbourne voicing that concern at this caucus meeting, with reports suggesting that Natalie Hutchins, the Corrections Minister, was getting pretty fired up at Premier Daniel Andrews and other senior ministers, saying that they haven't visited the west of Melbourne enough, and she's concerned in the lead up to the November state election. Now, she's reported to have said that Labor has gone back in the federal election in these western suburbs, really attributing that lack of visitation to the reason for this. Now, if you look at some of the results, 2 polling booths in Sydenham, which on a state level is represented by Natalie Hutchins, who's had these words to say about Premier Daniel Andrews. These 2 booths have seen swings against Labor by 9.6% and 15.8%, even though the party still attracted more than 41% of the primary vote in these areas. It's also interesting to note as well, Tom, that of 20 polling booths in Daniel Andrews' state seat of Mulgrave in Melbourne's southeast, 16 of them recorded primary vote swings away from Labor to Conservative minor parties such as the UAP. Now, Daniel Andrews represents that seat of Mulgrave on 12.7%. He says constituents are able to differentiate between state and federal elections issues, state issues versus federal issues. But Opposition Leader Matthew Guy, speaking this morning, said this could be an opportunity for the Liberals before November.
I think the west of Melbourne has felt abandoned for some time. And why wouldn't they? I mean, they get promises from the Labor government that don't eventuate. Whether it's health promises down in Werribee, which are, they're now talking about 4 years after it. The Melton Hospital that was promised in 2018 to be delivered in this term. The land's only just been purchased. No wonder the West feels ignored. I mean, they've had promise after promise, the Melton rail electrification, which was meant to be, years away under this government, the duplication of the line further on. I mean, you make promises and you don't keep them, it catches up with you.
Daniel Andrews has admitted that the result of this November state election will probably be a whole lot closer than the last one, which saw a Labor landslide. But it does seem like in the lead up to November, the party has a little way to go in terms of winning over those constituents in the West and also some of the MPs who represent those seats as well, Tom.
It will be just one other element of the fallout. It doesn't just go on one side. Julia, thank you.